Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another pre-election edition of Socialist Telly, where we are meeting a couple of the independent candidates who are standing to remove Labour right-wingers. And I'm quite excited about this one. I will give full disclosure. Sam is standing in Garston, which is where I live. And that means that we, the issues we'll be discussing is stuff that's pretty dear to my heart as well. On a number of levels, and we have Nandita Lal, who is standing to remove the awful David Lammy in Tottenham. And I saw a video of yours, Nandita, in where you were talking just after Andrew Feinstein the other day. If we get a chance later on, I'll play that because it was pretty feisty and good stuff. Sam, we'll go to you first because we weren't sure we'd have Nandita at the top of the show, but tell me a little bit about yourself, about your own record with Garston, and what's driven you to stand against Maria Eagle, who is the Labour incumbent here.
Oh God, where do we start? So yeah, basically I joined the Labour Party in 2015 because I was inspired by Corbyn after having my little girl. I wanted a different world for her, I suppose. And I just fell in love with his policies, and that's how I really got into the political sphere as such. Being quite pro-Palestine, I was targeted from really early on, actually, by the Ian McNichol administration in the Labour Party. Suspended 3 times, change of circumstance once, and ultimately expelled. We formed an independent group. There were a few of us based on different issues, not voting for cuts, not voting for an arms fair in the city, which ultimately would have blew brown people like me up in the Middle East to smithereens. So yeah, there was a lot of reasons why we formed this independent group, but we wanted to be so far removed from this right-wing Labour Party as possible. So then after being a Labour councillor for a term, I ran as independent with other colleagues, and Garston, after being Labour for 20 years, rebelled against Labour after a horrible campaign that they put out against me with a lot of lies and smears, and therefore they voted independent, and myself and Lucy were elected along with Alan Gibbons, who's our party leader in the north of the city. So yeah, that's our journey. It's much more detailed than that, but that's just the gist of it, really. But yeah, the reason that I decided to run, the initial reason, was because of Maria's lack of humanity. The fact that she didn't vote for an abstention. Well, she voted for an abstention on Palestine when she should have listened to a constituent. She clearly had hundreds of emails from constituents to say they don't agree with what her position is, and she's just ignored them anyway. So yeah, it gave me the drive to run against her, really. And I feel as though after winning Garston, anything's possible.
Yes, I mean, let's just explore that a little bit longer because, the 2019 general election, Labour got 72.9, I think it was, % of the vote in Garston, and Halewood, as it was then, there's been a boundary change since. And you would think that would be a no-hoper for anybody else to stand up and challenge them. And yet last May last year, you and Lucy stood as independent candidates. And give us a brief rundown on the numbers there, because they're quite good fun to listen to, and it'll give people an idea of what's possible, what can be done.
I think even looking back to the general elections in 17 and 19, Maria Eagle's majority increased substantially, and that was obviously due to Corbyn. Even in some of the most gentrified or posher areas within the constituency, we've got the biggest. We had, as the campaign coordinator, and I know the numbers, we had the biggest Corbyn supporting membership in those areas. So we know that there are socialists out there, and there are left-wing people out there, and and therefore Maria is riding on Corbyn's success. And we haven't seen in any general election for over 30, 40 years, because I've been looking at the figures and the numbers, that where nine candidates are running in one election. So that's quite a positive thing, really, because Labour's vote could be split. So yeah, I'm looking at it in a positive way, really. And there's not been an independent run for generations. So
yes, well, I'll give it, because I was here for it and there at the count, etc. But you walked it, and Lucy wasn't far behind in two candidate council seats up for grabs, and Labour couldn't even get the second one. So there's a lot of dissatisfaction here with people, and I think one of the things that backfired against the Labour Party at the time was the absolutely disgusting campaign that they ran against you, targeting you particularly, which was full of lies and arguably racist as well in terms of the way that they pitched it, and it blew up in their face. So I mean, tell us just very briefly a little bit about that.
See, I think the issue is a lot of the Labour councillors knew I was going through a mental health crisis as well. I was just recently diagnosed with bipolar at the time, and it just shows you like the lack of humanity and the lack of empathy that these people have got. They're supposed to be fellow human beings. I mean, some of them pretended to be my friends. So these people aren't nice people, and we need to get them out as soon as possible. Really, we need proper socialists within the city. And yeah, the leaflet was absolutely atrocious. I can't really say much more than that. But yeah, it was so bad. Like, the police were involved. It was horrendous, and it's something that I don't.
Yeah, it would have had to climb up a few levels to get to sewer.
Yeah,
level, really, wouldn't it? So it was really appalling, but it backfired. I mean, we talk about often incumbency advantage for MPs fighting in a general election, but in that sense, people are going to, on a day-to-day basis, going to see a lot more of you.
It don't make lots of favour. Ultimately, residents know that I'm in the community. I'm really visible. I'm approachable. I hold so many surgeries. People can get in contact with me through 4, 5, 6 different channels. I'm on the ground. I do walks regularly. I meet people in cafes. I do home visits. I'm quite a visible character within the ward, and I'm from and bred in Garston as well. So people saw through that. But what Labour tried to do, ultimately, they tried to put this leaflet out just before the postal votes landed. But at the count, my pile up for postal votes was so much higher than Labour's. It did backfire, and it backfired spectacularly, really. And it also allowed for another socialist independent to be elected with me, which is Lucy, who's done a fantastic job as well.
Superb. So let's talk about some issues. What are the things that matter to the people in Garston, and where do you stand on those issues?
So we've got 3 big campaigns running on a ward level at the minute, but one of them is an incinerator within the city, which will have devastating impact on the lungs and the respiratory. It'll cause a lot of respiratory issues for the people of Garston. Now, this doesn't affect just my ward that I represent currently. It affects the whole constituency. And that's an issue that I've been trying to battle with a Labour-run council, and with a council that is so prominent with officers that I've got all the control. I feel like I'm shouting at walls sometimes, because it feels as though you're not getting listened to. And we all know who's pulling those officers' strings, and it's the Labour administration, working hand in hand with commissioners, Tory commissioners. They're just so aligned in the thinking, and you can see that with Keir Starmer and the Tory government. Policies are just so identical. He's so ambiguous in his policies. He doesn't give any detail, and obviously we all know what he's like. He's lied. He's went back on all of his pledges. He's he's just a charlatan. He's literally a charlatan that is taking money from the public purse and providing the public with nothing. And he'll do exactly the same if he was elected Prime Minister.
Well, 100%. So, I mean, yeah, it's safe to say that there's a very high level of support for Palestine in Liverpool generally, and I think Garston probably as much or more than any. That incinerator that you mentioned, I mean, people probably think of it as burning household waste or something like that and polluting the air, which would be bad enough. But this is actually they're going to burn in the middle of I think 200 meters from the nearest school. Material that caused the second, I think, maybe the fifth biggest non-nuclear explosion in human history, and did cause that in the 1970s at Flixborough, and killed a bunch of people then, even though it was in the middle of nowhere. And now they're going to build it in the middle of a densely populated area, and that was waved through by the Labour Council in what is one of many decisions they've made that has disgusted so many people around here with the Labour Party, I think, and generally within the city. So the blast radius and the amount of this stuff that they're talking about processing is 5 miles or potentially more than that. So,
but
from here to the city centre.
It wasn't just supported by the Labour administration. We also had council officers intercepting residents' emails and withholding emails from councillors. Newly elected independent councillors weren't getting emails. So there's a lot of skullduggery going on in the council, and the commissioners are saying that we've been on this journey where things are improving. No, they haven't. This council is anti-democratic, and there's still elements of corruption. And as obviously, if I get elected as an MP, that'll be something that I'll be working to get rid of.
Yes. Yeah, and what kind of response are you getting from people on the doorsteps?
So yeah, I was explaining to Steve before the video come on that sometimes I feel like I'm in my own little bubble, and obviously I was during the 2019 general election as well, because I had in my head that Corbyn would win it, but obviously the hope that I had probably outweighed the reality. But we all know what Corbyn's own MPs did to him. We all know what they did, the conversations they were having with right-wing media. So yeah, it wasn't a fair election at all. But yeah, on the doorstep and canvassing schools, supermarkets, and just wider meeting people locally. It's definitely more coming more in the direction of support for myself. It is worrying that Reform are getting some support as well, but we're not getting hardly getting any support for Maria Eagle. In fact, a lot of people who did support Labour and Maria Eagle are either going to vote for me or they're not going to vote at all. So yeah, that's another issue that I'm trying to combat, trying to get people who are just disinterested in voting to actually put an X next to my name, really.
Yes, and again, as a local, I've seen that there's been you've had a high profile for an independent candidate, and that's come entirely out of grassroots support, as I understand it. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, I suppose I'm quite visible on social media and in the community, and it does spread. It spreads across the city, especially when 3 councillors over the last 3 months. I've done the majority of the casework out of all 85 councillors. People know, because they know that when they're emailing their councillors and they're not getting replies, or things aren't being actioned, that they hear the whispers that, well, the councillors in Garston, they're performing really well. And that's because we've got a duty to perform really well. We're getting allowances and we should be held to account. These councillors aren't. Just like Maria Eagle, she's complacent. And even if I don't win, I hope I give her a good boot up the arse, because she needs to act. She needs to act and remember who put her in that position, and it's us. Ultimately, it's us. So she needs to sort herself out, really.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it's not just the social media and the door knocking, is it? There's your face has been seen in big format round about the area as well.
yeah, we've been able to be lucky. We're lucky enough to have been able to fundraise to pay for big screens across the constituency, but also a massive ad van that's been going round. That's been going round for over a week now. And yeah, I suppose it's been getting a lot of traction. To be fair, I've been getting sent a lot of images and yeah, and messages to say they wish me luck. So yeah, it's a really positive thing to be able to get that funding. So yeah, every volunteer everyone who's voluntarily donated to our campaign, I'd just like to say a massive thank you as well. And I'm sure the other two independents in the Liverpool Community Independence Group would say the same.
And I've got your Twitter handle scrolling across the bottom of the screen there at the moment. If people want to join in on the campaign, is that the best place for them to go and find out what's going on and where to meet, etc.?
Yeah, just give us a direct message and I'll let you know where we are and what we're doing, really. So yeah.
Cool. I'm going to throw this open as well. So Nandita, if there's any questions or comments you want to make to Sam, then feel free. And in a couple of minutes, we'll go down to London and see what's happening down in Tottenham. But I haven't had any questions in. Quite a lot of supportive comments coming, but not really too many people asking questions yet. Maybe that'll change. So I will remind you, if you're watching and you want to join in the show, you can comment through the YouTube feed and the Facebook feed. It doesn't work on Twitter/X at the moment. But if you've got any questions, throw them in and we'll give them to the candidates and let them have their say on those. Nandita, Sam, if you can stay with us, do, because I suspect you'll probably have a bit of back and forth between you as well about what's going on. Maybe share some tips. Tell us a little bit about what's going on down there in Tottenham and the lovely Mr. Lammy, who you're standing against.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Steve. And I wish you all the best, Sam. Your campaign sounds really good, and it's really encouraging to people like me who have, just started this journey as an independent. So, it's very reassuring to hear that you have so much grassroots support. Yes, so my name is Nandita Lal. I'm standing against David Lammy, our future Foreign Secretary, the current shadow Foreign Secretary. And it's been very much where I have had experiences very similar to Sam, where, Labour is deeply unpopular in Tottenham. A lot of the 2017-2019 support was because of Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn is a neighbor we are very close to, is Lincoln North. In fact, just on the boundary. So, there is a lot of love for Jeremy in Tottenham. And also the ward, similar to what has happened in Garston, we have also had a little ward change. And when we tell people whose wards have changed that Diane Abbott won't be their MP anymore, and if they voted Labour, it'll be David Lammy, they're horrified. So, Diane and Jeremy are the people they associate with the Labour Party and their politics. So for us, I came out of this grassroots group, which is called Haringey and Tottenham Palestine Action. We started in October as a result of Israel's assault, and we've done a lot in the last 9 months. We've done many demos, many actions, some of which have been covered by you guys when David Lammy was supposed to come with Keir Starmer outside Bernie Grant Arts Centre, and then he got wind that we were there, and then he didn't come. And we've been joining the PSC marches with the Haringey contingent. We have been we demoed outside Question Time. They were also in Bernie Grant Arts Centre recently. And then we had a couple of community assemblies, so, public assemblies, where we wanted to understand what does this grassroots want to do about David Lammy, because, being the constituency of the future foreign secretary, and a constituency that is, more than 60% BME or other non-white is relevant, right? We all are deeply invested in what's happening to Palestine, and we are all, from all parts of the empire. We all have our histories of how we have survived the empire. So this was on May 8th, and then as a result of this community meeting, it was that we need an independent candidate, a socialist candidate, who's pro-Palestine and who has been active in Tottenham's solidarity with Palestine. And then I was just a reserve. And then in May, end of May, 21st May, when the snap elections were announced, that's how I ended up here. So I have no political background apart from, being a Labour Party member when Jeremy was there, and being a Green Party member in 2015. No other, completely new to this. I'm supported by lots of wonderful people, some of them who have been ex-Labour members and councillors who have a lot more experience than I do, of course, so which has been very helpful. And so this is why we're here. I mean, I just felt it was a moral duty to stand against David Lammy, to show that there is so much unhappiness, and he's so deeply unpopular and has become more so because of all the things that he said about Palestine and his actions. So
yes. Oh, it's an interesting comment from Ron. He's talking about Liverpool, but I guess the same would apply in Tottenham, that they've always had a strong tradition of voting Labour. So the challenge has been to convince voters that it's not the Labour Party they might have once voted for.
Exactly.
You did a little speech that I saw on YouTube today, which where you spoke just after Andrew Feinstein, who's standing against Keir Starmer, and more power to his elbow as well. And you gave a very good little rundown. Considering you've got no background in politics, as you say, then it was even more impressive on David Lammy's sins and failings. So do you want to? Shall I put that on, or do you want to give us the live version now?
No, happy to give it as well. I mean, he abstained from the ceasefire vote in November. He said it was legally justified to bomb a refugee camp. Then he visited Israel in December 2023. He hasn't, he did sign. He did vote yes on the ceasefire motion then later, but that was so watered down that it doesn't really mean anything. It's just empty words. And then he hasn't signed any early day motions. Everything that he said is just a smoke show, and it's a lot with him is a lot of it is just fist thumping and saying, yes, we have always wanted a ceasefire. We've always wanted a ceasefire. And then people just think, oh, so David Lammy's actually he wants a ceasefire, but it's just, so blatantly false, that, he still made it conditional. It's, even the recognition of Palestine as a state, he says, is conditional to a ceasefire, which, we know that
it's conditional to the approval of Israel, which is even
exactly.
And so Israel have made it very clear that they have no intention of ever approving a Palestinian state. So the kind of weasel nature of these comments is nauseating, really. So, and in terms of kind of more local issues, what are the things that the people in Tottenham are facing, and what are they not getting from David Lammy that they should be?
Well, he doesn't do any local surgeries. So I think the biggest issue is that he is completely absent from Tottenham. So he doesn't have any visible presence. And when we've asked to meet him, and when, I've said many times on social media, like, let's do a hustings, he's Labour's like nowhere to be seen. It's almost they're so arrogant that people won't the representative to actually represent people. It's just yeah.
Yes,
It,
I mean
it's amazing.
that's been pretty much a national phenomenon, really. The Labour
Yes, yeah.
candidate refusing to do any, either actively refusing to do any or simply not doing any hustings or other kind of public debate or engagement.
Yeah.
What do
They
you
are
think?
just
That's just
they are
arrogance,
just
and they think they've got it in the bag? Do you think that they recognise that Keir Starmer gets less popular the more people see him? So so the people who support him are probably going to be the same, or what's driving this?
I think it's twofold. Firstly, they are really complacent in their safe labor seats. And they think that they won't be challenged. They genuinely believe that people like me and Sam don't, have a chance. Otherwise, they would be challenging us, right? I think the mainstream media plays a big role. They have given Lammy so much coverage in every paper, and they haven't covered anything on the grassroots. So this is the impression that goes out to sort of millions of people that David Lammy is an involved Tottenham MP who is likely to win the seat, and then and yeah, so they are complacent, and also I think the public facing stuff hasn't happened in places where there is left, like in Liverpool, like in Tottenham. Tottenham is the place of David Lammy got this seat because of Bernie Grant, who was a black radical socialist. So a lot of people still make that association, which is David Lammy is nothing like Bernie Grant.
Yeah.
His politics don't match to him at
Yeah,
all.
poor old Bernie must be turned in his
Yes.
grave, I guess, at the moment. But now
Yeah.
it struck me it was quite interesting because your very feisty speech where you were campaigning alongside Andrew there, right at the end, you mentioned about the fact that it's 2/3 of the people in Tottenham are not white, and that if David Lammy wants to continue his kind of pro-Israel, pro-NATO, pro-imperialism agenda,
Yeah.
he'd better look for another seat.
Yes.
And I loved that. That was that was fiery stuff. Tell us a bit about what reaction you were getting from people that made you feel that you could be that direct, let's say.
Yeah, no, there is so much grassroots support. So, for instance, the Turkish and the Kurdish community, the Bengali community, there's so many communities who have endorsed us, and they are so grateful to have someone who is standing, who is talking about Palestine so openly. There's so much fear about talking about Palestine. There's so much fear talking anything that is anti-Israeli. So I think first of all they just, and I also realized this power that when I start talking about it, people think, oh, okay, she is talking about it, so maybe it's safe to talk about it, right? I think, yeah, so people are so grateful that there is someone representing it, and that it's not a taboo subject, because in their gut they know that this is what they're seeing on their phones is wrong, and they are kind of thinking, what is this dissonance that we are seeing this genocide on our phones, and then all these politicians are telling us that that they're actually, it's the Palestinian resistance and the struggle is leading to all of this, which is not what you're seeing on your phone. You're seeing IDF doing all this. So I think, yeah, there is a lot of support for Palestine in Tottenham. And we have a petition going on. We want carrying a council to divest as well. uh, and people are passionately anti-war here. I mean, because they've had some association, like I said, with the empire. You have a lot of the Windrush generation here. You have people like me who are from India. There are people from all over the world there who have experience, who have some sort of experience of colonialism, and they know how brutal it is. And what we are seeing right now is just colonialism that's live streamed on our TV or on our phone, right? Like, this has happened for decades, for centuries, and it's probably been as brutal. The only difference is now you are like watching it. So that really resonates, right? And I think what I said when I was talking about Andrew as well, I think labor really underestimates the impact that it's happened and that it's having on, on us, on our mental health, on how we think about our children's futures, how we think about the Earth's future. And I think Palestine has been such a sort of galvanizing liberation movement. It just brings out all the contradictions that are in society right now. Capitalism, imperialism, settler colonialism, uh, ecological destruction, like the the West's infinite appetite for capital accumulation. It just can't go on. You're doing this whole genocide so you can have beachfront properties. It's insane. Like, when does the greed stop? So all this really resonates with people. And I think also, it's the failure of the left to not explain this, to not educate people what is causing this. That what is this, what's happening, what are the tenets of capitalism, why is this happening. I think we fail at that. We fail. Labor hasn't really ever attacked colonialism. I mean, not as a mainstream party, and that is so necessary, because our there's no liberation without all our collective liberation. We can't sort of There can't be an aristocracy of labor movement. Otherwise, then you're just sort of, what you're doing in other colonies, you're just replicating at home as well, making sort of divide and rule. So that's
Yes.
what
I
labor are
think
doing. It seems,
Jeremy was the first one who threatened to actually change that, and that's
yes,
why
exactly.
a big reason why they went for him in the way that they did. But it's interesting that you say about what they do abroad and what they do at home, because one of my kind of favorite comments was by Tony Benn, who said, watch carefully how your government treats refugees and people abroad, because that's how they'll treat you if they can think they can get away with it. And we are seeing, a very strong indication, I think, from Keir Starmer as to how he would run the country when we see him demonizing Bangladeshis most recently, because he thought that was politically expedient for him to do, the way that he, was quite happy to say that, the Israelis had the right to impose starvation and, kind of famine and even water refusal on the people of Gaza, until that blew up in his face, and then he tried to backtrack from it and claim that wasn't what he'd said.
What other things in Tottenham? Cladding.
I mean, how is that affecting people's mentality towards Labour there in Tottenham, when they can see how he's quite happy to throw people under the bus like that?
Yeah, so a lot of people who live in these council blocks, you can imagine, they're already really marginalized. They don't even have enough, brain power to sort of go through that. They are living in such high fire safety risk, right? So just educating them has been something. We've been giving out leaflets that one of the members of our movement, he did an FOI, and then that was the result of it, that 80 council blocks have a life critical fire safety hazard. So so we are going to educate people more. Some people are already aware and they're concerned about it, and try to get Haringey Council to work on it. Another thing is social cleansing. I don't know if you guys have seen, just yesterday, Thelma Campbell, a Windrush. So Haringey Council.
And the Haringey Development Vehicle, which was, a few years ago now, but would still be fresh in the memory of people down there, I would imagine.
Yes.
That was all about pushing, less desirable people out of the area so they could bring in more of the better off,
Alison Davey, who was a big part of that, saw that the Northumberland Park estate won't won't be demolished. She's part of this movement. So you can see that, this movement is kind of bringing together a coalition of people who have been involved in the grassroots struggles, and that, they see themselves in the Palestinian people, in the sense that they have also been ignored, marginalized, completely silenced, gaslit by the ruling class. So yeah, social cleansing. Bernie Grant Art Center gave an eviction notice to um, a Black artist group called BAP. I mean, that is just so ironic because it's called Bernie Grant Art Center.
Yeah.
So that there is not even affordable creative spaces in Tottenham anymore, and which is just yeah. So just to speak out for more renters' rights, squatters' rights. There's a big warehouse community which is also under threat in Tottenham, where a lot of young people, a lot of creative people live, again, who don't have a voice, and they also are not, David Lammy is not interested in any of them, because we've been sending him emails and stuff, and there is very little interaction with the community. I suspect all his videos that he's put out of him being in Tottenham are of Labour Party members.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, it might not be true, but this is what I suspect, just being on the ground and seeing how unpopular he is.
Well, it's kind of one of my pastimes if I see a Labour candidate in a campaign photo, is trying to find out the identities of all the councillors who are behind them, because that's normally who it is.
Yeah.
And maybe family members.
Yeah.
I know you, Sam, you've said that we see the same thing up here. When Maria appears on in front of a camera lens or whatever.
See, what Maria did initially when she seen that we were galvanizing a lot of support, she went out literally the day after with entourage of like 3 or 4 people, and took photos for social media. But ultimately, she's literally done like 2 door knocking sessions that she's made public. So I do think it's complacency. I think she just thinks she's going to win it without even trying, basically. But it was funny because the group photo that she did, that she keeps putting out, is a 60-strong photograph, and it's literally all whipped people and their family members, all whipped.
Yeah.
By the Labour Party and they're basically candidates or councillors or their kids. It's like ridiculous. Yeah. There's no organic.
Yeah,
Since the demise of Corbyn, nobody wants to go out with them. They're embarrassed. Yeah. So the fact that they probably will win this election, as a whole, it just really pees me off because they haven't got that support on the ground, and it's similar to the Tory party setup. A lot less members, but a lot of money from big donors, and that's the type of setup that this Keir Starmer Labour Party wants to replicate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, same here. And just even when we were in Camden, there is the Camden High Street is buzzing with Andrew Feinstein's volunteers and his posters everywhere. And I honestly think that he definitely does have a chance. I mean, they have a little bit of head start. They have a lot of volunteers. Him and Jeremy Corbyn and Leanne Mohammed, I think they have a really, really good chance of. Jeremy obviously has the best odds, but even the other 2 as well. So that would be great. And if David Lammy as well, if nothing, just give him a really bloody nose, and that he can't take the majority for granted, and that he.
I think that's my attitude as well. If we're not going to win, we really do want to give them a bloody nose. And this is just planting the seed as well. We need to revive that level of hope that Corbyn, gave to people. We need to ensure that level of hope is there for everyone's mental health. vision of the future that, you know, that Corbyn, you know, I was inspired by Corbyn genuinely as
same.
and a young dad. Literally, Corbyn was my hero. My son's middle name is Corbyn. So I've just got to put that out there, that, you know, that level of hope isn't just me being a whack job. It's literally, it's the feelings you feel, and it's because society really needs it. Look how unequal society is. It infuriates me as a councillor seeing this day in and day out, and Maria Eagle doing F all about it. She hasn't got a name attached to anything. She hasn't got one building with a name on. Not that you should aspire to have things with your name on, but there's nothing within the community in Garston that says Maria's helped me, Maria's done this. What has she done 27 years? She's done F all. And I feel like people need to wake up and smell the coffee now. You know, we've got a Labour Party.
The demographics up here in Garston are very different from what they'd be down in Tottenham, but a lot of the issues are the same. Where you've had an embedded, kind of entrenched Labour presence for a long time, but doing sod all and taking all the people for granted because they assume that they're secure and they can get away with it.
But two of the main players for writing for the Sun newspaper, the Murdoch Press, is Lammy and Starmer. You know, they're the two main people who are writing for the Sun. I mean, there's loads of other Labour MPs that are doing it, but why isn't Liverpool looking at this and saying, I can't even explain it. It's so frustrating.
Well, hopefully on Thursday we'll find out that quite a lot of them are looking at it and realizing. I think the other thing as well that's key for people to understand is that, you know, it's a new phenomenon to have so many independent candidates standing, but it's absolutely essential for the well-being of the country that they do well, because, you know, not just for individual areas, but the whole country. Because if Keir Starmer does win with anything like the numbers that his cheerleaders are talking about, then there's going to be next to no opposition. And there's, you know, if the Lib Dems and Reform, as seems quite possible, you know, if the independents didn't perform well, were to become the opposition, there's absolutely no pressure on Keir Starmer to do anything except move further to the right, and he's already so far to the right that he's almost falling off the chart. So, you know, we need the independent candidates in there holding.
We need a proper,
making him look over his shoulder in our direction, not in the direction of the outright fascists and neo-Nazis and the rest of the people that are trying to kind of infest the country at the moment. So, you know, those people are the problem, not immigrants and not refugees, etc. So,
I think, Steve, the solution to a lot of this is by implementing a PR voting system. It will get some of the smaller right-wing groups, you know, coming in, but we've got a chance then to educate people about them. You know, we're literally at in the fringes of society now, and Nigel Farage, the buffoon, is running, and people are inspired by him. You know, like they were similarly to Boris Johnson. Yeah, I think I honestly do think that Reform are going to do a lot of independents favors though. They're going to take votes. They're going to take votes off Labour, and it'll give us a chance to get more support. Not that I want Reform to do well, but we've got to expose them for what they are. But I do think they will help.
Yeah, and I don't think Labour is they are losing so much talent. They're going to lose so much of this experience of canvassing, of understanding grassroots issues in every place, because, you know, they've just purged all the socialist councillors. So in Haringey as well, 3 councillors who are pro Palestine, they resigned because they weren't sort of taking the Labour's whip. So they are going. It's like, fine, you're going to win this time, but, you know, it's not going to be like that every time. You will need people on the ground to help you. So they are really shooting themselves in the foot in that way, in places that they have maintained safe seats. You know, so, and I think we have to take it from there. So we have to now make sure that this movement becomes sort of more cohesive, the movement of independence, and that we work together, organize better. Socialists are not great at organizing, so that is maybe one thing that we need to work.
And not always great at agreeing. I think that's the issue, because they've got principles. But I think that you're right what you say, because essentially all that's left in the Labour Party now, in almost all cases, very few exceptions, are the people who are drones, who are there for their own careers and own kind of advancement, perks and benefits, whatever else it is. And just by standing, because you stand for something, sets you completely apart from the run-of-the-mill Labour candidates, and certainly from people like David Lammy, etc. So, I think we need to push that point. We need people to use the last couple of days of campaigning to make sure that they get the vote out in every area possible, in every constituency possible, particularly in Garston and in Tottenham. So we're into the last few minutes of the programme, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes each to just, if there's one message you want to get across before you finish to the people who might watch this and are still deciding how to vote. Nandita, you waited at the beginning, so we'll give it to you first. What would you like to say to potential voters there in Tottenham?
Tottenham, I would like to say to any potential voter that David Lammy has, disappointed us in the past. He has now, confessed himself that he is a small C conservative. He has made it clear the kind of foreign secretary he wants to be. He wants to be very close to the US. He doesn't care if it's a Republican government or a Democratic government, but, we are going to be sort of the 51st state of the US. That is, it's so evident in everything that he's writing, that he's saying. And that is really not in our interest. We don't need more war. We don't need to, keep on pursuing this expansion of the US hegemonic empire. It's in no one's interest, not in ours, not of the planet, not of any people anywhere in the world. It's just not sustainable. So I would just say that David Lammy really doesn't represent any of the socialist values. So don't vote for him. Vote Lal.
And if anybody wants to come and join your campaign, I'll just put the website address there. Is that where they would go to volunteer their time to get out and knock doors or deliver leaflets?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can sign up through email, or you can just go on any of the socials and just send a direct message.
And what kind of operation have you got happening on election day itself in terms of actually getting out the vote and so on?
Today we were targeting all the tube stops in Tottenham. So 5:30 to 7:30. Hopefully people they've headed home now. And then tomorrow we are doing on Tottenham High Road a big street stall, making some noise, have a car going around. And then on polling day, we are hoping to be near a polling station, 2 or 3 people per polling station. We want about 80 volunteers. So yeah, that's the next plan. And just to sort of remind everyone, do some social media, that go out, go vote, take your voter ID, and give Lammy a bloody nose. Oh, not literally,
Not literally. I'm sure everybody understands that, but we'll say it anyway, just to be on the safe side. Nandita, thank you very much for that. Sam, over to you.
So ultimately, we all know that Labour's gonna win the most seats. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be the most likely case. For me, it's getting independent and green socialists in as well, so we can hold their feet to the fire, because we know that the Tories are a shitty opposition. So really, we need to have an effective opposition, and I honestly think that only independent socialists and green socialists can do that job. So yeah, my message is, in areas where Labour's likely to win anyway, to go with your heart, and to give that the person who you truly want to win that chance.
Okay, so we've got your Twitter there across the bottom of the screen again. What activities are going on in the next couple of days and on polling day that people can help with if they're within reach?
So yeah, we've got loads of door knocking still going on. We've got 2 sessions per day. We're also canvassing the train stations. We're also canvassing the schools and the supermarkets and shopping centres. Yeah, because it's such a small campaign without much data. It's been hard to get that data, but I feel as though we're getting some data, and the attitudes are going in Gus for Garston's favour at the minute. So I'm hoping that it will look like that on Thursday.
Brilliant. Couple of days to go. We'll find out by the end of the week. So solidarity to everybody, all independents who are standing for the right reasons, and with you two guys particularly. Good luck in the campaign. I'll be rooting for you, and
good
I'll
luck.
encourage everybody to watch this on catch up, share it widely, and make sure to subscribe to Socialist Telly. I will give Squawk Box a little plug as well, since that's mine too. And thank you for your time. And who knows, maybe tomorrow or on polling day itself, we'll be back online. Take care, everybody, and God bless you.
God bless. Bye-bye.